Can you hear me?
Because I heard our intro video, and then I was like told there was like some sort of issue with, I have no idea. It's like this
The
week
day,
is just
the
like
day
gone.
has been crazy with the technical
It's
difficulties.
all right. Welcome to Alabama Primetime Live, episode 6, the biggest brand on the best network for college football coverage. And the biggest and the biggest brand, the best. I'm gonna nail that. I said it last week. I was gonna write it out and I nail it. Did I? No, I didn't. But so sorry for lying, but I
Can't
will.
win them all.
Yeah. And
All good.
actually, no, I'll do it right after this so I don't forget. Brady, Manny, along with you. Good week.
Yeah, man. The week has been solid so far. It's early. I actually, weirdly enough, man, I thought it was like Thursday already. I was like looking, and I'm like, all right, I gotta get this done because like everything I plan out like the whole week, and I plan out every hour and everything. So like I'm a little weird when it comes to planning.
Yeah.
I try and plan everything. Um, so workout was getting done. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And I'm like, all right, damn, I'm doing pretty good. All right, what else I got like to get ready for tomorrow? And I'm like, all right, it's Thursday. I'm like, damn, no, it's Tuesday. So yeah,
Yeah.
that explains how my week has been going, man. I've just
I
been
feel you.
going.
I
Yeah.
feel you. No, for work right now, we're in our busy season. So which in our busy season means I have to travel like every week. So it's
Oh man.
usually Thursday to Monday. But this
Right.
week's been Friday. Like this week is Friday to Monday, which is good. So like my weeks for me like start on Thursday, and then it's like go from there. So now I have an extra day at home instead of a travel day. So
Man.
anyway, all right.
Yeah.
It is the off season continues to just absolutely drag for like no reason. Like I
You
hate
know
it.
it.
Um,
Oh,
some recent news came out, especially regarding A Day, and we've had our share of conversations about A Day on the platform. It's gonna be, according to Kalen, an hour and a half practice.
practice.
Yeah,
We're
which
talking about
we
practice.
talking about practice. Now, I know like we're in favor of like some sort of ramification to A Day, into spring games in general, where we were both on the line of like, we don't want to cancel, but we don't want it to be a full out balls to the wall sort of affair. I
Right.
really wish we could. The NCAA just ruled against it, but Colorado and Syracuse wanted to play each other as their
Yeah.
spring game, and they ruled against it, which I don't understand. To me, it's no different than a joint practice in the NFL.
Very similar.
And let's call college, and we all know how similar college sports, whether they want to admit it or not, we know how similar college sports are now to professional sports.
This is true.
So I don't see the harm in that. But I also don't see the harm in a shorter model, but I do wish it was some sort of like two-hand touch scrimmage, because you can't do that in an hour and a half. What do you
Yeah.
gain in an hour and a
I
half?
mean,
Like biggest, you know what I mean?
it's weird because we've made the game this way, and I say we
Yeah.
as in like everyone who was vouching for adding money into the game of college sports, because now everything is a risk. Now we see guys don't want to even play football if they're not going to get paid. They don't want to do anything regarding football if it doesn't require a check of them getting paid. So it's like, obviously these guys want to stay healthy, and I want them to stay healthy too for the season, of course. But it's just weird, man. It's like I'd rather them switch the tradition to do something else rather than say, hey, oh yeah, we're still gonna do the A-Day game, or is it really even a game? Like, we're still gonna do this, we're still gonna do that, and it's like, okay, we pretty much just watch an open practice, and that's cool, but it has to be some sort of universal thing of what we're gonna do, because the practice thing, I'm probably not gonna watch. I mean, I will, but I just it's not.
You're going to watch it, but it's not. You're gonna watch it annoyed.
Yeah, I fear this is genuinely what I fear. I fear I'm gonna watch it and find a way to figure out how I can pull this up on my laptop or TV just to complain about And I don't want that. I don't.
No, I get
Really
it.
don't want
I do.
that.
I do.
But I feel like that's what I'll do. I'll watch it and I'm like, okay, this is stupid. I mean, I've seen these guys throwing
I may
practice.
not even. I may just follow along with it. I may not even necessarily watch it, but I may just like what I do for this is I have like an X list,
Hmm.
right? So anytime I want Alabama, like when we prep for the show,
Hmm.
anytime I want news, I go to my list, and all it is basically like a custom fee. If you don't know what an X list is, it's basically just you add accounts to it, and it's basically just a custom feed of relevant topics. Kind of like
Yeah,
it's a really like intensive For You page, like on TikTok.
it's pretty cool.
So it's nice. So I may just follow along on with that, but it does seem like, and I just read this, McElroy, the I think like the Alabama quarterback whisperer. He literally he literally said he's like Simpson has quote firm control unquote on the QB1 spot.
Apparently,
And you know what? When the Florida State game is closer than it probably should be, we're going to sit there and go, I told you so. Because you have the
yeah,
highest ranked recruit in the history of your illustrious program coming in, and you say, start on the bench.
it's a yeah,
It's
it's a
it's
pity start.
going to bother me. It's going to continue to bother me
It's a pity
until
start.
they pull like a New England Patriots, and instead of putting Drake May in halfway through the year, they put in Keelan Russell. And when
Yeah.
that happens, I'll let it go. But until then, I'm going to keep barking about it
Yeah,
because
I'm not upset at that. I fear, and I said this way before, as soon as like the practices first started, is I fear it was going to be a pity start,
yeah,
and I just
that's the word
and
you've been
this is
using. That makes
yeah,
sense.
and this is exactly what we're witnessing. It's like, okay, it's his last year. He's been around the program for a long time. Let's just give him a shot, and that's cool. I respect that. That is amazing that they're trying to do that. But also, if there is someone better, which maybe we will see come A Day. Like maybe we'll see more intense footage of these guys throwing the ball, and maybe we'll see more intense footage of drills. Hopefully, it's not just like a half-ass type of practice, since A Day is going to be a practice that's televised. Hopefully, we can actually still see like, okay, give us game speed type of drills, and that would somewhat give us an idea. But in the footage that we've seen, it doesn't look like the quarterback whisperer really knows what he's talking about when I'm reading reports and things that say, oh, Simpson is running away with the quarterback race. He's far beyond the other two in the quarterback race. I just don't see it just yet. And maybe I haven't seen enough, which is why I think this. But I guess A Day we will find out if they actually go through the drills at somewhat of a game speed, and just with some sort of intensity.
Yeah. No, I mean it's one of those things. It's like there's one way to find out, and if they're gonna roll the tie, I think that what the Crimson Tide Nation needs to do is just support them. You know what I mean? Like
This is true.
whatever the decision is, you don't have to like it. We all know that we both don't like it, but I'm not gonna sit in front of my TV on the Saturdays that I have off from calling college football. I'm not going to sit in
Yeah.
front of the TV and pout and sulk, or when I go back and watch highlights or condensed games, right, for the Saturdays I am calling college football. I'm not going
Yeah.
to watch those condensed games and sulk about them. Am I going to
Yeah.
yell at the TV? Yeah, because that's what I do. But I'm not going to
Right.
be. I'm not going to like every time the offense is on the field. I'm not going to do this. Like because like
Yeah.
what does that do, right?
Yeah,
You
it
need
does nothing.
to
Yeah,
support.
and that's a great point too. You got to support at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even if they don't choose the quarterback that a person is hoping for, it's like either way. I mean, we all are literally here because we want what's best for the team. That's why we're all so strongly opinionated on who we want to start, is because
Yeah.
we just really want what's best for the team. So, come week one, Simpson does go out there and he's looking amazing, then it's like, okay, maybe I'll ease up. I'll ease up about why this guy isn't starting and why Mac isn't starting and all that. Like I'll ease up on that. And then he continues throughout the season to have some great games. Then you won't hear a peep from me. You won't hear a peep. But that
Right.
is how it works. But God forbid the opposite happens, where we're in a bunch of shootouts and we still barely have a passing game, which I don't think is going to happen because we got the new offensive coordinator there. But
I think if they do, like Alabama's going to be the team regardless of who's at quarterback, is going to be the team that people are going to point at and say, you get in a shootout with them and you're done.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like
yeah,
Oregon.
this is true.
It's like
This is
Oregon. I think if Penn State can be what they were last year, it's going to be the same thing. I
yeah.
would
I mean,
say Ohio State, but I don't really know what their situation is like because Howard's obviously gone. I think if Underwood can be who they claim him to be, Michigan is going to be back to where they were a couple years ago. But
possibly, yeah.
I think that's legitimate.
Michigan is going to be interesting this year
I
too.
think if Underwood is who they say he is. But I think Alabama, regardless of who they pick, I think Alabama is going to have another year that fans expect, and that's back at the top of the SEC.
Yeah,
Speaking
yeah,
of the top of the SEC, we know that Alabama has had some of the greatest wide receivers to pass through not even just the SEC in the sport. And last week, when we ended, we said we were going to give you our top wide receiver. So we'll do wide receivers, this week, and then we'll do something else next week. Because this was Manny's idea, this segment was Manny's idea. He's going to go
yeah,
first,
yeah.
and
Let's do
tell
this.
us who his greatest wide receiver of all time.
Okay, so we gotta I got the idea. This is Devontae Smith list. And we'll just use this as a reference. I mean, I think it's cool that hey, we got a list to look for. And I find it actually really, really crazy that he put himself at number 5. And I love the number 1 pick at Julio Jones. I think I personally have to go with Julio Jones because if you look to build a wide receiver to put on your team, you talk about size, speed, route running, catching ability. Obviously, all of the 5 have that. But Julio Jones, I think because he is a little bit bigger than all of these receivers and can still do everything they can do. This is why I got to put him at number 1. If you look at the record books and you look at the numbers and stuff, he's not necessarily going to be the one that says, hey, this guy right here, he's the number 1, even though he is 6th in receiving yards all time at Alabama. But there's other people on this list that are above him. So I respect it, but I got to go with Julio Jones for best wide receiver at Alabama for sure.
I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I do respect it. The one thing that will kind of keep this debate kind of even almost is it's not like, one group of receiver. It's not like Julio Jones had Tom Brady. I'm just going to use this as an example.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like Julio Jones had, I was going to say Tom Brady, but college Tom Brady may not be the best example. It's not like Julio Jones had,
right.
It's not like Julio Jones
a
had
Tony Rome or
oh God!
why can't I think of this? I can't think of any
one.
of them.
I need a quarterback. I need literally any quarterback that was good.
Extremely elite.
Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow.
It's not like Julio Jones. To say when I said
it's not like Julio Jones had Tim Tebow and Devontae Smith had the 3rd string at a really bad JUCO. And where he had to make it look good because the quarterback was terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case here. So at that point, who's throwing him the ball, to me, is taken out of the conversation because everyone was just as equally as good. And then vice versa, everyone could have been equally as bad, and I still would have made the same argument. With that in mind, I look at the person who leads the program all time in touchdowns, who leads the program all time in reception yards, who had just as equally good weapons around him.
Man.
And at that, did it while being smaller than everybody else. And it's the person who sits right in front of us. It's Devontae Smith.
Yeah. I get it. I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, you can picture just natural ability, yes, but everyone has that natural ability. Everyone's a freak athlete. Everybody's got glue for hands. But Devontae he was just, you couldn't bring him. No, you could never bring him down on the first attempt.
Yeah, he
That's the
was
one thing that separated
different.
him, is it would take more than one tackle attempt to bring him down.
He was
No, it
different, man.
doesn't you always take multiple people, but go back and think about it. Devontae Adams was never tackled on the first attempt unless he ran like a curl. But other than that,
Right.
I mean, it was slippery. That was the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and
So,
that's a good point with Devontae Smith. I feel like out of all these guys, you could definitely give him being one of the slipperiest receivers. I
yeah,
don't even know if we use that term really in that way, but
well,
like he's one of the
I would,
guys who breaks the most tackles, man.
yeah,
Out of this list, because it's tough. It's tough. And I think after him, maybe I would go Calvin Ridley for
Calvin
a
Ridley.
receiver
Calvin
that
Ridley
like
college. People don't appreciate how good he was because he was
Calvin
overshadowed.
Ridley was crazy.
Right? Because he was overshadowed. And now,
Yeah, and
in the
that
pros,
room.
right? But also like in the pros, I mean, with the whole gambling thing,
Yeah, it
that
set him out a year.
it kind of tarnished that a little bit. So I mean, but no, I think there's no wrong answers. I
Yeah,
mean,
of course not. No, you could
you could
literally
start
make a
defending,
full
you could
argument
start
for any of
defending
these.
like DJ Hall, and I'd listen to the argument, right? I may not agree with it, but
Yep.
I would listen to it. You'd have a point. So anybody on this list, go ahead and
It's
defend
definitely
them.
up there.
Go ahead and defend them, and I'll say you're right.
Yeah, that's true. The craziest, I think the craziest thing to me, like with this list and actually just thinking about it, is like, bro, at one point, and I should have found the picture actually so I can put it up here. But like, I think years down the line, kids are going to see a picture of Amari Cooper, or not Amari Cooper. They're going to see a picture of Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, all on the same team at one point. I fear that's what they're going to see, and they're going to be like, they're gonna be like, when did this three play together? When did these guys play together? But it was a real thing, and it was insane because as soon as I'm like, okay, all right, well, Jerry Jeudy, he's definitely, or Calvin Ridley, he's definitely the best receiver at Bama right now. Here comes Jerry Jeudy, and he has a crazy season, and he's balling, he's a serious threat. Then he turns it up, and it was like literally one receiver after another. They just continue to overlap, and I'm like, that was a wild receiving room. Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, and also Devontae Smith. Like, yeah, it's unbelievable.
It makes you think. It does, and in a good way, of course. We're going to step aside for just a minute. On the other side, we are going to take a look into that 2026 recruiting class, because someone we were talking about on Tuesday, 24 hours later, committed to the University of Alabama. And we are going to preview the Georgia game. That's week number 4 for the Tide is Georgia. So stick with us. We will be back in 30 seconds. All right. We say it. I say it more in basketball, right? There's a recruiting, maybe not so much a recruiting window, but more for like the transfer portal. There's a transfer portal window. Yeah, it's the whole year, right? Like recruiting, transfer portal. It's now all one and the same. It's there's no such thing as a portal closing or a portal opening, and there's no such thing as a recruiting window closing and a recruiting window opening. So, we are going to take a dive into the small 2026 recruiting class for the Tide. It is headlined a kid that just committed on the 26th. Jordan Edmonds, 6'2", 175. which that should stop you right there. 6'2", and you graduate in 26. You're a junior in high school, and you're already 6'2". You're probably not done growing. Number one player in his position. Second, number one. Words are hard. Number one corner. Number 10 player in the country. Number 2 player in the state of Alabama. That number 1 player in the state of Alabama, last I heard, I think we're in the mix. I'm blanking on his name. We're in the mix. Auburn's in the mix.
Still a good amount of people
were still in the mix. I don't remember. I'll have to look. But this recruiting class has since ultimately been boosted, now up to 30th in the country, which is not good. It's not where it should be. But there's only 5 of them. Which is, there's obviously, that's not bad. Number 1 is USC with a 5-star and 10 4-stars. That's where they're getting that boost, is the 10 4-stars. They also have 18 commits already. And then Clemson number 2, LSU number 3. But it's nice to see, I guess, some of the smaller quote unquote brands in the top of this list. Kansas, Leipold's number 5 because he's got 11 3-stars and 2 4-stars. So, Leipold's a great recruiter, and it's showing there. But he's obviously had more kids commit to the program. So the more kids you have commit to the program, the higher you'll be. I cannot do
in the rankings. Yeah, it's weird, man, because like so much of the recruiting depends on like the NIL money now. Like guys don't even really, at least I could be wrong, but I feel that guys don't even really aspire to go to the best football school anymore. It's like I feel like at one point in time it was okay. If you really want to go to the best football school, you're going to look immediately at Alabama. You're going to look immediately at Ohio State, LSU, these schools that are like certified football schools. But now at this point, seeing teams like Syracuse in the top 10 of recruiting, Illinois in the top 15 of recruiting, like just Texas A&M, obviously Texas A&M is still good, but just like some schools that we haven't seen in such a long time dominate the recruiting right now. It's crazy because it's obviously NIL money. It's no reason some of these top recruits are like, okay, I'm gonna go play at Illinois, even though I know we have no chance of even winning at all.
Yeah.
And maybe it was always like that. But it was just covered up a little bit because there wasn't as much money to go around. And teams.
Well, we know A&M was doing it.
Yeah, A&M was definitely doing it. They got caught, and I'm sure they weren't the only ones. Like I'm sure Bama was probably doing it under the table too, and Ohio State and Michigan. I'm sure so many schools were doing it under the table, promising all kind of nice cars and extra money and stuff. But it's just the fact of how much could you get away with? Like how much is your school doing it where you can actually get away with it? And for A&M,
but now it's the tampering.
Yeah, now it's full go.
New, all right, you're gonna legalize this, which is great, but now it's
LSU said they was gonna offer you what? Oh, okay, all right. Well, if we can
everyone does it. It doesn't make it like I'll put it this way. I'll make a basketball example. Those basketball fans, right? You see that Kevin Willard just made the Sweet 16 with Maryland. He left Maryland to go take the job at Villanova. So apparently,
this is true.
Those talks started happening in January. Man. In the middle of the most important stretch of Maryland's season. Like the week before they cracked the top 25. Those talks were beginning.
Yeah, that's wild.
They haven't fired their head coach yet.
Yeah, in the middle of the whole thing.
In the middle of the NCAA tournament, he knew he was like, that's what's back home here, Ed Cooley, Providence. middle of the NCAA tournament, that guy signed a contract to be Georgetown's next head coach. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, and then you
And the
see
league,
players following suit now.
Right, and the players going to do the same thing. And the NCAA
Following
is going to
suit.
do nothing about it, which is
Tourney isn't even done, and guys are still leaving. And it's only a
college
matter of
football
time.
playoff isn't even done, and kids are playing.
Yep.
It is so stupid,
Exactly.
so doubly stupid to have the portals open as early as they do.
Yeah, man. With
Here's
guys
what
being
needs-
able to, like,
here's
you
what
should at least have to focus on your team first. Like,
here's
you
what
know,
needs to happen.
yeah. Go ahead.
National championships, right? National champion. It's one transfer portal, right? Whether you're D1, D2, or D3, right?
Mm-hmm.
The D1 national championship is, I believe it's always the last one, or it's usually the last one. Point being, portal opens 1 week after the national championship. Again, whether it's usually on a Monday, but sometimes it's on Sunday, Saturday. Whenever it is, portal opens exactly 7 days after the national championship. Give kids 2 weeks. That's it.
Just crazy.
That is,
Crazy.
in my eyes, more than enough time to enter a transfer portal. We're going to give you 2.
I mean, it should already be that way. Like, it shouldn't even. It's crazy because, like, the fact that we have to have this discussion about, oh, well, maybe they need more time. Like, give them some extra time, and you know, allow them at least 2 weeks to celebrate with their team or to whatever.
You can apply. Now, there should be exceptions, right? You can apply for extra time for like a legitimate, like, death in the family or coaching change. The same rules that would apply, like when the waivers, like when you would have to apply for a waiver, right? When those were still. Now, you allow those exceptions, but it shouldn't be like every year guys are like.
Yeah, it's excessive, and I think it's going to get to a point where they eventually realize, like, okay, we have to modify this in some sort of way because it's excessive. And I mean, when it starts happening during the course of the season of, okay, this new 12-team format, and now obviously football is going on longer in the playoffs for college, when guys are like, I'm not playing quarterback because I'm supposed to go to Oregon next year and they're paying me $30 million, like, I'm not going to play in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, why would I play in the Cotton Bowl when I got 30 million lined up to go play next year? Like, when stuff like that starts happening, that's when we'll start to see more limitations of, okay, this is the tampering period. You can't do anything. You can't talk to people from this time to this date. Once it's over, then have your conversations. But other than that, it's considered tampering. And I truly, genuinely feel like that's what we'll get down to as we start to see players sitting out and stuff.
It's just mind-boggling. This whole thing is mind-boggling. It really is. All right. So last bit of the day, we've been previewing one game every episode for 1 week. Excuse me, of the season. We've all got the Tide at 3-0 right now. Week 4. Tide goes to Georgia, goes to Athens. And this is going to be interesting, to say the least. For some odd reason, maybe it's, I'll admit it, I'm on Wikipedia right now. And normally the schedule is on and the roster is on Wikipedia. It's not, so I may have to.
I can break it down really quick.
I'm going to say I may have to be a good journalist and go to a real website to find it. But the biggest thing for me, the biggest problems that the Tide are going to have are actually the biggest problem, because we don't know if they can handle someone like Zachariah Branch. So if you remember, Zachariah Branch took a nice fat check, transfer from USC to Georgia. This kid is SEC material. The Tide have not faced someone like him. Kalen DeBoer's Tide have not faced someone as quick as Zachariah Branch.
Yeah.
And the Tide match. Can Cam Calhoun lock him down? Actually, let me rephrase. You're not gonna lock him down. You're not gonna take him away. Can you contain him? If you can contain him, you give yourself a legitimate shot to win the football game. If you can't, ruh-roh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so that I mean he's a dynamic layer to any offense that he's on. So I mean he's going to be a key focus, and I'm sure he's probably going to have a crazy season with Georgia. Now him playing against Bama, it's really going to be, I think, what we've seen the past few years is just offense versus offense. Each team is like struggling, trying to contain and protect the end zone, and unfortunately, that's just been a reality of the Georgia Bama games that we've seen the past few years. Is they're usually high scoring. Teams are giving up big plays. I mean, they both put up 50, I think, last year, which was just crazy. And I mean, ultimately, Bama ended up pulling it out. But I think we see a similar situation where it's a lot of offense, and who it's going to more so be a duel between who can outscore the opponent rather than who's like dominating on both sides and getting stops on both sides. It's gonna, and we will see that. We'll see some defensive stands, and we'll see a defense step up. But above all, I think we definitely see a more offensive type of game in this Georgia Bama game, and I'm gonna go with Bama to pull the win out. I'm gonna go 36-34.
Yeah, no, this
Alabama.
will definitely be a shootout. They're rolling with Stockton, and I mean, how do you blame them? I mean, Gunnar Stockton's a good quarterback. Because I know that they let Beck go, which I think was probably the best thing for them. Yeah. They didn't pick anybody up in the portal. They're rolling with Gunnar Stockton. I think Alabama has more firepower than the Georgia Bulldogs do. Offensively, defensively, I may still give the edge to Georgia. I may. I don't know. It's too early to tell. There's a lot of new faces on the defensive side of the ball. In Athens,
who you got?
This could legitimately. I feel like I could give any answer,
and it's acceptable.
But purely based off of, I see. I want to use Gunnar's lack of big game experience, but I can't even use it because the guy was thrown into the SEC championship game, almost won it, and Ty Simpson hasn't. He's had what? A start, if that.
Yeah, a start. I think a couple years ago, if that.
Right. So it's gonna come down to, now we're gonna find out who Bama is, because the non-con for Bama is harder than the non-con for Georgia. Bama's non-con is Florida State, Louisiana Monroe. Well, Florida State, we all know is going to be easy. Louisiana Monroe, they'll put up a fight. Bama will then walk away. Wisconsin, same thing. Will put up a fight. Then Bama will walk away. And then later in the season, I think it's like Eastern Illinois, or so it's the week before Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Georgia has Marshall and Austin Peay. Marshall and Austin Peay to open up the season. And then the last 2 weeks of the season, the other non-cons at Charlotte, and Georgia Tech. This year,
Georgia, they got a solid schedule though. I mean, in terms of who they play, I mean,
every game of the conference is a nightmare. I mean, but
yeah, Tennessee, Bama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Florida.
I mean, I still think I mean. I was more looking at like who are we going to find out is like real, and it may be Georgia we find out is real before Alabama, because Georgia goes to Tennessee.
Yeah, they got to play Tennessee, so I mean they get a tough battle right away.
So I still think Alabama's a better team than Tennessee. So if Alabama's a better team than Tennessee, just by Alabama's a better team than Tennessee, and Georgia's going to beat Tennessee, that's got to mean Alabama's got to beat Georgia, right?
I would hope so.
Bama by a field. Bama by a field. 31-28 wins.
Okay, I'll take it.
31-28, Bama wins.
I'll take it. It's not bad.
It's just they're so similar.
They are,
It's
and they
so-
both got a lot of talent too. So it's like it's gonna be tough.
Bama's proven they can win on the road. So I mean, at least in the past they have.
Yeah,
It's right down the middle.
but we'll
so-
see. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
we both
I'm excited for that one for sure.
They both got them at 4-0 to start. I'm out if you've got nothing else.
Yeah, no, that's it. I'm all good there too.
Do what the ticker says and like and share and subscribe because we kind of know what we're talking about. Just a little bit. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness, like and subscribe for the only network that is all college football all the time. Tell your friends because they also like college football and they also want college football news 24/7, 365. Only place to get that is the voice of College Football Network. That's Manny. I'm Brady. And we are going to see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. See ya.
Roll Tide.